PTF and JK back with you. We talked about what's happening at Gulfstream on Saturday. Now we're going to head to the West Coast. Some would say the best coast, but I can't get down with that as a New York guy. We will take a look at what's happening at the Great Race Place right now. Pick six, $2 pick six. I bet I know, JK, you are a very big fan of. It kicks off in race number, maybe it kicks out too, in race number 4. And this is a race with a short field, but I thought maybe a standout, maybe a way to single and hope to pick up some equity along the way in this sequence. Curious when it comes to this starter allowance to kick things off. Are you with or against number 5, Mr. Disrespectful? And you're on mute. It happens at least once a show.
It was the goodbye from the other show. Ice cold single here with the 5, Mr. Disrespectful. And part of it is, we've talked about this before. I love the fact that you can single in the first leg of a pick 6 if it doesn't go well. And I know it sounds like hocus pocusy kind of to a certain extent, but the point is why waste equity in that first leg if you have an opinion? If it doesn't go well, you just come back and play the pick 5. If it goes the right way, you're sitting on a ton of equity because you singled while others didn't. You were able to get coverage in a larger minimum wager. There's a lot to it, and so
why does that sound hocus pocusy at all? And I like the way you used hocus pocusy in the last video/audio segment better when you're talking about like people guessing about a turf first time starter. But I think it's just unassailable logic about if you have a strong opinion in the first leg, why wouldn't you just bet that?
I think
play devil's advocate and tell me why that doesn't make perfect sense.
Well, I mean, it does make perfect sense. I think that sometimes it can be interpreted as like you're treating the race differently because it's the first leg than you would as the last leg or the second leg or the third leg. I think that's the part that could be perceived as hocus pocusy because you're treating the race differently based on where it is in the sequence, which, I don't look at the second leg like differently than I look at if it's the fourth leg. But I do think that when it's the first leg and the last leg, there is a different way to view it. And I just want it to be clear for people that haven't thought of it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's this bet called the pick 5, which changes it. But I mean, I do think people often don't think about the right way to leverage or any way to leverage one pool against another. I think it's a good example of that and a way to try to think outside the box. We've said so many times it's not usually a recipe for success to just say, hey, I'm going to play the pick 5 today. It makes a lot more sense to handicap the races, look at where your opinions are, and then find the bets that allow you to leverage those opinions. Let's move on to race number 5, which kicks off, not coincidentally, the pick 5 at Santa Anita. It's an allowance race where 6 furlongs on the turf. And we've got a couple of different ways you could go in here, I suppose. I was going to look at the common race as the key bit of form and say that maybe number 4, Player B, can reverse form with the 8 Schwartzmeyer based on both the fact that of the inside draw this time and in the hopes that maybe there's a little bit more pace signed on. Having said that, don't mind the idea of having Schwartzmeyer on side as well. I was thinking the 4 and the 8 were the ones I wanted. Not super confident, though. I'd love to hear your opinion on this one. Any others that we should be throwing in?
Yeah, no, I don't see this one much differently. 3, 4, 8 for me. Right, yeah. Yeah, 3, 4, 8. 3, 4, 8 for me. The one that I will add is the 3, just Smart Glatt, who's just got, pretty consistent races. Of course, always just shows up, hits the board. And that was one that I wanted to have. And it's done it in different situations. So done the flat 6.5, done the 6.5 down the hill, done the 5, done the 6, done it all. So I wanted to make sure I had that one. 3, 4, 8.
3, 4, and 8 as we make it through the second leg and proceed on to the third, which is also known as race number 6. Maiden claiming 20s here and a field of 8 scheduled to go postward on the dirt at 6.5 furlongs. Who did you like, my friend?
Yeah, this one was like a hold your nose situation. I mean, they're all not very good. The 5 and the 6 are two that at least they have consistent numbers, even though they're consistent losers, right? They're 1 7 for 0, 1's 12 for 0. It just doesn't. 0 for 12, excuse me, and 0 for 7. They just bad. But the other ones are worse. Just give me the 5 and the 6. One of them will finally get their picture taken.
In this situation, sometimes what I'll do is just try to look for any kind of unexposed form, comparatively unexposed form. And it led me to one that's a big price on the morning line. That's number 7, Sawyer's Speed. This is just a guess in a race where, as you mentioned, those faves are very hard to trust. could control things up front, relatively unexposed. That's the whole handicap. Number 6, Broadway Unions, one of those two that you mentioned, towers on numbers prior to that last race. And that was just a very bad effort, which makes me worry about this one's condition. But I can't trust, I can't fade. There'll definitely be some 6. The other one I wanted to pull in as maybe a little bit unexposed, number 1, Black as My Heart, dropping in class and switching surfaces for a barn having a solid meet. That's enough in a spot like this for me. 7, 6, and 1 for me. 5 and 6 for JK as we move from the bottom to a really nice stakes race, grade 3, San Louis Rey, 1.5 miles on the turf. Easter in here, in form for Phil D'Amato. Gold Phoenix, old friend of the show. Gold flipping Phoenix around these parts. Which D'Amato wins, JK?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Gold Phoenix thing for me. He's running the Breeders' Cup turf 3 times, right? So it's like the level of class it takes to get qualified and to find yourself in that situation that many times. And then to get this group that I thought was just a little light, the stablemate would be the only real competition. And for me, Easter's just not as good. And Easter seems to be getting a little slower as the distances get longer, right? You look at the 1.16 miles, the 1.125 miles, the 1.25 miles, depending on what figures you look at, it doesn't seem to be necessarily improving with more ground. So for me, just Gold Phoenix.
So not, Easter as a B, or just one lone number here in the notes I send around to our In the Money Plus people?
Ice cold.
Ice cold. Okay. I'm going to use them both. I mean, this is crazy from an equity point of view, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I don't want to deal with the frustration later. I may go through and make some tickets where I try to be a bit smarter about this. I'll give you the Easter case. I love the recency, and I like the fact that in late pace terms, this horse doesn't really seem to be getting too tired late. I just think that maybe for Gold Phoenix, this is more of a means to an end, probably thinking about ending this season back at Del Mar in that turf once again. I have a lot of trouble separating them. I'm going to call it 3-6, if only so that we each have a different horse on top. We'll take each other on in the San Louis Rey as we move on to the late double at Santa Anita. Of course, they have the new terms on this late double bet. The higher minimum, the lower takeout, player-friendly stuff from Santa Anita all meet long. This one, race number 8, kicks off with a $20,000 claiming race, going 6.5 on the dirt. Another race that had a pretty clear standout to me. Number 8, Jerry's Spirit. Very obvious look. Numerical edge that is significant. The horse is in form, and the horse looks like the controlling speed. Is it as simple as Jerry's Spirit, JK, for you, or will we be oppo again?
Yeah, ice cold for me with Jerry's Spirit. Best early pace figures, best final number, and also drawn well and dropping from starter allowance to 20. Got everything covered there. The most confident single of the sequence.
Okay, let's go to race number 9. Fillies and mares in the allowance ranks, going 1 mile on the turf. Field of 9 going postward, but competitive field of 9. I had trouble narrowing this one down. Any more clarity for you as we close things out at Santa Anita in this pick 6?
Yeah, it's tricky with the horses making the first starts in the U.S., right, or the second starts in the U.S. I want to make sure I use the 1 and the 3. The 3 needle point I wanted to have, who I thought ran well last time, was 5-1. Came running. Wordplay also for Simon Callahan, who's got a couple of races that are right there in the mix, and then obviously the favorite, the 6, Eternal Rain, for Phil D'Amato, another one who's taken money in both career starts in this country and has run well both times. In those situations, I felt like if I can wrap this thing up with there, and I didn't have a problem spreading, especially so inefficiently considering the 2 singles that I have.
I think I'm pretty much with you, but you might be underrating the 9 runner Defiance. I thought that was a horse that was just supposed to improve for Mandela after what might have been a sprint prep where she ran pretty well. I did have needlepoint on top. The 3, I thought that U.S. debut was better than it looked, and I think she can probably build on that. And then the 6, Eternal Rain, just like a super obvious horse, but no like massive edge on figures, and it's going to probably catch all the money. So I could see maybe playing Eternal Rain in extra time just to account for the fact that she's going to be bet pretty hard in the market. But I also wanted the 3 and the 9. Do you see Defiance at all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't like stretch outs drawn outside.
Yeah, I get that. Gonna have to get a position. It's funny.
And
I almost corrected you. I saw your mouth move before you were off mute, so I started to say you're on mute, but you're too good. You weren't going to get caught twice in one show. Good stuff, JK. Appreciate having you on as ever. A little bit of a truncated version of the show. We're going to have a whole other show covering, I think they're going to be doing the Turfway card for our friends over at Turfway Park, talking a little bit about the contest going on this weekend as well. But that's going to do it for this edition of the show. We'll thank our friends over at 10 Strike Racing. We always love to root for the purple and black around here. Also, our charity partners, Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga, doing great work. Learn more about this place where Kim Weir, our good friend, now works. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/horses for that one. Most of all, though, want to thank all of you, the listeners, for making these shows so much fun to do. The viewers, too, if you're watching on YouTube. Remember to subscribe to that In the Money Media YouTube channel. Click that notification bell. Give this video a thumbs up while you're at it. That helps us out, too. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos